he is, all smiles. Here he is, all smiles on a Thursday morning. Good morning to you, pilgrims. It is the 14th day of March 2019. Thank you very much for joining us for today's edition of Gudday Grenada. I'm George Grant. Let me tell you, gonna be a great program this morning. Gonna be a great program, and it's not going to be your usual program. Let me explain a couple of things to you. First of all, I want to give you guys a little heads up that later on this afternoon, we are going to be inaugurating a new program, right? 4 o'clock this afternoon, I expect some youngsters to be coming in here. We're going to start giving some time to our youth. I was approached recently by some youngsters who want to share the aspirations of Grenada's youth. They want to uncover the hidden potential of our youth. And I thought, really? Wide open door, folks. So they're going to get started this afternoon. The program is called WOKE, W-O-K-E. Okay? 4 o'clock this afternoon. Join us on Facebook, and you can also join us right here on Grenada Broadcast. Now, what's unusual about this morning? Well, whole lot to you too, Margaret. There's Margaret. She's first up this morning. I'll tell you what. We do not have a report, a national report from the GIS today. I hate to break your hearts, pilgrims, but we do not have it. They never published one on the website last night, so I do not have a national report for you. However, I'm sure that you are aware that on Tuesday, Prime Minister hosted the post-cabinet briefing. I told you that. And I got a chance to sit and watch a lot of it last night. And I thought, oi. He is touching on a number of different topics here, which I think would be of interest to you, the Gudday class. So I decided, okay, let me pull out some of those clips, and I pulled out 5. And I'm going to share those with you this morning. First of all, we're going to hear him talk about the tourism and hospitality sector about to expand into St. David. Yaman. We're also going to find out what brought about a change of heart on his part towards LIAT. Huh? It's going to be interesting. Come on now. Those are things you were curious about, weren't you? Well, hold on a minute. What about the status of the oil and gas exploration? I haven't heard you guys ask anything about that lately. Well, he spoke about that. And guess what? He's also blaming the principals of our schools for the failure of last week's Zonal Games. I'm just giving you a heads up. These are just some of the things coming your way. And also, where is the highly touted shrimp farm that we were supposed to have by now? Huh? Scratching your head saying, oh yeah, I forgot about that one. Well, those are some of the questions that are going to be addressed by the Prime Minister. Or I should say, were addressed on Tuesday, in which I'm going to share with you this morning. Now, why is he laughing? Why is he laughing? He's laughing because my eye just glanced off to the right here where my iPad is, and on Facebook I see Margaret saying, oh dear, you don't say. You think we run them? Oh, Margaret. Yes, what would I do without you? You know, between you and Bierzynski, Oh, yeah. Well, Margaret, you're going to have to wait until you see Mr. Bierzynski's T-shirt this morning. He's just getting his camera all set up, and I'll tell you, uh, wait until you see what his T-shirt says this morning. Hang in there for just a sec. Okay, and by the way, good morning, Deborah Parker Stratus. Deborah Parker Stratus. Deborah, you got so many names, you confuse me every time I see them. But sweetheart, thank you so much for chiming in. Good to see you out there in the States. Hope it's not too cold in your neck of the woods this morning. Huh? Good to have you. Now, let's get down to brass tacks because Mr. B this morning, he's early. He's early because I think he has to go pull out his life savings from the bank this morning, so he wants to get out of here early. Boy, you should see the picture this morning. He looks so good, so good. I don't know if he's got himself a new phone or what, but the camera he's using is tip-top. I have never seen him look better. Anyhow, now, let's get down to Prime Minister Mitchell. Prime Minister Mitchell took to the airwaves this week and touched on a myriad of things. However, there were a few that caught my attention, and I'm going to share them with you. The first one, The first one is about 2 new hotels which are about to be built in St. David.
But we have now a major initiative which will, the investors will be making that announcement within a week. But we can afford to say today that the Range Group, which is a European hotel development, they have now formulating a major project. They have already got the endorsement from the physical planning unit. They have bought the lands in St. David's already, both private and government lands they are worked on already. And they're bringing 2 major projects to St. David's. And there is a big plus to this, because as you know, most of the major hotel and development activities that have been occurring in the country is in St. George's. So this is one on the eastern side of the country, 2 major hotels. And I want to tell you, Six Sense is known as one of the top brands in Europe. And they have in fact indicated that they're moving to start at one first. And you're talking hundreds of jobs. And right now, in terms of investment, you're talking over $55 million US in development and over 600 jobs in the stage of construction and other activities that they will be doing. They also will be doing the Park Hyatt as another project. No, they did the Park Hyatt in St. Kitts, and I just spent 2 nights there. I could tell you this. The only project I see in my moving around the region which would compare with this, or not necessarily better than, is the Silver Sands. In fact, they have the same design, although a bit smaller project than Silver Sand is here today. But it is a top-class project. You're talking 6-star facility. That one is going to be in the second phase. They're doing the Six Sense first, and that one is coming afterwards. They're also looking at training, hospitality arts. So it's not just building the project and developing the project. They also build a major hotel, the one in Dominica. So they did one in St. Kitts and they did one in Dominica, and they're doing 2 here in Grenada. They are going to be investing in training for the hotel development. One good thing about Range is that they insist on local employment. In fact, when I was in St. Kitts, I noted that most of all of the workers in that hotel, like minus a couple persons in the front desk, were Kittitians. And they are going to be doing, in other words, while they're constructing and building, they will be doing a training program. So they'll be working, not just training for their project, they'll be training for national activities. So they will be working with other hotel projects in the country, Silver Sands and others, so that they will be having persons trained to take up projects, to take up work in other areas of activity.
All right, so that was the first of the 5 clips from our Prime Minister, all right? And remember now, we have no GIS report this morning, so what I'm going to do is run this clip and the next 4, and then we will have Mr. Bierzynski join us. So he's going to be joining us, it's now, let's see, 11 minutes after the hour. I would say probably about 20 minutes past, okay? Now, that was the Prime Minister on the hotels. Now, we also know just how outspoken Dr. Mitchell has been about LIAT. Some have been wondering what has brought about an apparent change in heart on his part towards the airline. Well, he may have explained that on Tuesday.
As you know, and you all know, I have been one of those very critical of LIAT service over the years, and the way the airline has been operated and managed. My position has not changed in that, in the sense that I cannot support an airline or a business that is not managing itself well. But I'm sure you all would agree, and I have witnessed myself. Within the last 6 months to 8 months, LIAT has almost become, to me, a different institution. Because it's been on time. In fact, many times I have to rush to the airport to catch LIAT, when before I have to sit there and wait for hours. In Barbados, spend hours. When I get here, I'm so tired, I can't do anything. There's been a tremendous improvement. So that has, of course, been one of the things that caught my eyes. But on the present situation, we have been advised, based on the presentation in St. Kitts, that LIAT could go down. Now, with our present situation in Grenada, if LIAT goes down and not able to travel, it's going to take some time before a new airline emerges. It will damage our economy and damage our country and create tremendous hardship for people. So it's not in our interest, given that we have seen a trend of change. It's not in our interest to see LIAT go down. So we have agreed that we will contribute to a $5 million, we will have a cash injection. But it is based on certain factors. They have presented to us, based on the analysis they have done, what Grenada's contribution will be. While we agree to pay some cash, I cannot say at this point in time that the number they have presented, which is $487,000 US dollars, is what Grenada would give. We are doing an analysis before I commit, and it will have to be before the end of the month. So a few of you have asked me whether, because you heard reports, in fact, some person uttered the word of Grenada paying $487,000 US dollars. I wonder who is so brave to talk for Grenada. You know, you may have asked me for that, but you can't go out and say that I'm going to pay that amount. We will pay, but I cannot tell you right now whether it's that amount or something less or even something more. I can't tell you. But we will inform the public, because it's a public money. Anything we do, we'd have to inform the public and give a rationale for it. But in addition, they're asking us, on the flights that we're getting, there are some flights that are not profitable. They're not yielding the load factor to break even. I have no problem if we're getting a flight and we need it and the flight is not profitable at a given time. We've done it for big airlines. We supported and continue to support, whether it's marketing and other aspects, British Airways and other airlines coming here. We did it with American Airlines. Not now, because the American Airlines is completely full. In fact, we can't get space in American Airlines going to Miami. So we're not paying right now, but we used to pay. So if we used to pay and we need LIAT, and LIAT is saying that flight is not yielding and they provide a proof for us, we will, in fact, subsidize a particular flight. But if there is a flight that we don't think is as important for us, we won't be subsidizing something that's not optimal for us. So we'll make a decision. Maybe instead of that flight could be another one that we want. For example, we used to have a flight from Trinidad every morning The loss of that flight has hurt Grenadians a lot. So we may ask for this. But in the process, we may have to subsidize it to a point before it starts becoming profitable. I have no difficulty. But I was speaking to one of my colleagues this morning, and I said, look, while I make those statements and agree on the approach, the present situation where most of LIAT, cost of LIAT ticket is taxes imposed by governments, including Grenada. I am saying that we must reduce the taxes. So I am not going to subsidize a flight from another country, which includes a massive amount of taxes from that country. I'll be subsidizing the income tax, or the taxes, and I won't do this. And I don't expect another country to subsidize, unnecessarily so. If Grenada are going to impose a pile of taxes on a LIAT ticket, I don't expect them. So I asked, before we start the subsidy, there must be a rationale of the taxes imposed on a LIAT ticket. So the price of the ticket, I expect it will drop considerably, which may mitigate against any subsidy. And if we still have to subsidize, I have no difficulty whatsoever. But it will not be under the present tax structure. I will certainly ask for again, because I told my colleagues that I'm prepared, but they will have to reduce the taxes, restructure the taxes, and they have a committee now working with LIAT, looking at the taxes of individual countries and recommending a rationalization of those taxes. Colleagues, I think I've said enough.
Okay, can you tell us where is that kind of financing going to be coming from to give to LIAT?
Well, we have, you mean the one from Grenada? Grenada. Well, remember, we have presented a budget, and there are, so far, we have generated the estimated revenue that we are talking about for the last 5 years. And the first time I've been in government, period, whether it's government or opposition, that the estimated revenue that we have projected at budget time, we have surpassed it. So it could be from savings so far, but we also have funding can be brought to the National Transformation Fund. It comes savings that we have got in other areas, last year's savings and so on. So there are room within our budget, which money could be used for other things. But we are able to get the cash, but I will not be spending the cash just like this.
All right, I'm trying to keep up here. First of all, John says, liar, I cannot. Shouldn't he have said, we cannot, since it's Grenada's money, not his? So says John, okay? Margaret says, did I just hear him say that they must reduce taxes? Yes, you did, Mags, you did. Now, Margaret also suggested a little bit earlier on that it was TF, John, and Kipling who made the GIS afraid to come back here this morning. Guys, behave yourselves. And Mags, don't blame them. You know, they just share from their hearts. They don't mean any harm. Also, I'm seeing here that Fitzroy Adams says, with due respect to Dr. Mitchell, can the nation eat hotels? Why not encourage these investors to invest in agriculture? Good question again. I don't have any difficulty with that. Glenn Andrew Marks says, the present tax structure is not helping. So why do you think restructuring or lowering taxes will help? Maybe Mr. Bierzynski may have an answer for that when we get to him in just a wee bit. Anyhow, now, I haven't heard any of you asking for updates on the oil and gas exploration. Aren't you guys curious? Well, here we go.
One of what is seen as a trump card for the general election was the oil and gas that was used by yourself and your team. I know there's still quite a lot of work every time you ask that is being said. What is the latest with that?
No, I don't know. You really think it was this trump card you're talking about? We had a lot of trump cards, you know. So, but anyhow, now, seriously so, we, as I indicated over and over, and I always said, if you look at what happened to oil and gas around the world, it's the same thing. Investors come in and invest to drill out a well. You're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. They have now drilled a couple wells, and the prospects look very good. Very, very good. Now, they believe the areas that they drilled was not, in fact, the best area. And so therefore, if the results, they look good, it's expected that the others would even be better. But these are still. So they're now in the process of raising the funds and to doing further drilling. In Guyana, it took 8 years after the first drilling was done. Before, even now, Guyana has not even started producing oil yet, but they're getting close. And Guyana can now access additional funds because of the projection and because of the investment that other people have made. So we are very excited, but to tell you whether we can see actual cash today, tomorrow, or next year would be unwise to do so. But I'm still extremely excited. Nothing has changed. If anything, the prospects look even brighter than the announcement we made at the time we made it in 2018.
All right, there you have it. Oil and gas. Hold on. You're going to have a chance to comment in just a wee bit. But by the way, Lincoln, forgive me, I passed this a little while ago. Lincoln was saying good day, and he says, Mr. Grant, you sound very energetic today. Give thanks. Hey, Lincoln, listen, man. If you had to come and sit in this chair every morning, you too would be kind of upbeat. This really, really turns me on. Now, let me see here. Glenn Andrew Mark says, oh my, this is fake news. He is just talking the wideness of his mouth about oil and gas. I'm not quite sure I understand that, but he says this is fake news. He is just talking the wideness of his mouth about oil and gas. Okay, T.F. Richards is late, but he says, the man stammering to answer the question on oil exploration. And if you really listen to him, the man has no proper answer. Hear what he's saying now. They believe where they drill is not the best areas. Lord have mercy on this sweet talker. So says TF. John says, oil and gas. So it's someone else's fault again, eh? Marshall Dollar Lewis says, that means he was lying at Pearls. Wow. You know, you guys are pumped up. Just wait until B gets here in a wee bit. Now, let me see. What's next? As was to be expected, someone other than the government had to be blamed for the huge flop that we saw in last week's edition of the Zonal Games. Well, guess who was on the receiving end?
The zonal sports meets in the lead up to the April 5th National Secondary School Games. Are we satisfied that enough athletes are coming out? Because I know in the absence of the intercall, we're trying to ensure still that young sports people have that avenue, especially for those who are not so academically inclined. But are we, the first one seemed a little disappointing.
No, if you know the challenges, it would not be disappointing. I am convinced that the teachers as a whole want it. The students that want it. The fly in the ointment, the principals. There were principals who were very active, doing everything to sabotage the invitational. And I can't understand this. I ask people, how can you be Christian? How can you say you love children? And you're doing everything to hurt the children? opportunity to be exposed for some. I don't understand. It beats me. I cannot see politics in this. When your children's future is involved, leave the politics outside. I'm prepared to lose political support if an action I take would benefit the children and hurt the politics. And I would have thought that people who are parents, people who claim to be principals, would operate. I'm talking about those who are doing it because I can't. Opportunity, to be exposed, put everybody in the same boat. And when they're talking about those that are actively doing everything, and it cannot be for the interests of the children. It cannot be for the interests of the country. So it must be a very selfish motive. And I have a problem with this. And I'm not afraid to call it out. I'm not afraid to call it out. Some people must have a conscience. Some of us claim to be religious. Some of us claim to be Christian. But when the Christian values are being asked of us, we don't see it. I got a problem.
My final question, so with that now, what do? We have Western Games coming up on Thursday, I think it is. And then we have some others still.
We're doing everything to ensure, because you left a lot for hopefully cooperation. We don't expect it to be perfect, as it should have been. If we had all the principal support, and as I said, I believe the vast majority of teachers want it because they know its impact on the children. If we had the support, and I must compliment the Ministry of Sports, the physical education teachers and so on. They've done their part. In fact, they have been abused by some people for having done everything possible. Peters, for example, have been abused because he stood for the children. He didn't stand for NNP and government. He stood for the children. And because of that, he has been attacked, unfortunately so.
And finally, about 2 years ago, we were promised our very own shrimp farm. I started salivating. You mentioned shrimp, I go gaga. Well, that farm has not materialized, and the Prime Minister is not at all happy about that.
Well, we have been disappointed in this one. We are not satisfied. We have now investigating, and we are seeking support from our friends regionally, internationally, to deal with the proprietors of that particular project, because we know through the program they've collected significant sums of money and have not done in investment. And because of that, we have made some changes to the conditions of people receiving monies from CBI program, making sure it goes into escrow account and they have to account for it on a regular basis, with the government having oversight. Some of them don't like it, but we have to protect the name of the country.
All right. There you have it. Folks, regarding the comments I see here just before the last one that I played, Margaret says, Mr. PM, how can you be Christian and lie, cheat, and steal, and victimize? That is all anti-Christian. When all else fails, play the religion card. Shaking my damn head. So says Margaret. T.F. Richards says, pot telling kettle its bottom is black. Look who's talking about sabotaging. Boy, something wrong with this man. Marshall Dollar Lewis says, when will our Prime Minister grow up and realize that it is not always about him? You I guess he meant docked. You docked salaries out of your arrogance, and now you're playing the moral card. Whoa, this is sad. And then finally, John says, shrimp farm? Not another committee investigation? I don't know. We just may have one. Margaret says, oh, please, where's the money for the loan you guaranteed on a mere picture of a precious stone? You have a very good memory, Margaret. Dennis Clark says, did he say that they have received significant sums of money and have not implemented the project? I think that's what I heard, Dennis. Folks, let's not keep Mr. B waiting any longer. Just let me pay a couple of bills here and we'll get to him.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Hey, Lynn.
Hey, neighbor.
Here's the bill I asked you to pay for me.
How did you get your electricity bill to be so low?
For one, we size our transformers just for what we need. And we unplug transformers, chargers, and other devices when they're not in use. We also replaced our light bulbs with LEDs.
They burn less energy, right?
Much less. I even replaced the seal on my refrigerator door to keep the cold air in.
And Grenlec is always advising us not to open the fridge too often.
That's right. And my family washes and irons in bulk.
With fuel prices changing all the time, how do you know if it is working?
We pay attention to the usage history table. Over time, our average usage has decreased.
So while Grenada can't control fuel prices, I can conserve energy and save money.
Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Coop Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank. And there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
All right, John Crow Alexander. Hello, John Crow was suggesting here a follow-up question from the journalist should be, give examples of the principals who have been actively sabotaging the children. Very good point, sir. Thank you. Fitzroy Adams says, Dr. Mitchell, this is not about politics. When you bite a child, I guess you don't expect them to cry. And finally, Lydia James says, whoa, Mr. A.B. is on. I love him. Lydia, the man married, eh? The man married. Mr. Bierzynski, somebody out there loves you. Good morning, sir. How art thou?
Good morning. I'm well. Just in the interest of transparency, I have not heard any of the clips that you played, so I will be flying blind, like a Boeing 737 MAX 8. But anyway,
well,
nevertheless. I'm
shocked.
No, I didn't hear the audio. I don't need to hear the audio because it might prejudice what I have to say.
Okay.
So let me proceed by saying, plus ça change, plus c'est la même chose. I did French up to O level, so I can tell you what that means is,
no obscenity,
the more things change, the more it remains the same. No, I also did Latin, but unfortunately I didn't get beyond the first form in Latin. And so I'll give you the English translation of a famous Latin phrase. Those whom the gods wish to destroy, they first make mad.
Yeah.
Now, what is madness? I suppose you can look at Donald Trump, because you can see that words just flow out of his mouth, apparently not necessarily connected. The eyes are shifting all over the place, the head is going up and down, the hands wave, and words come out. The words have little connection with reality. And never, this is the prime example, never is responsibility accepted for failure. Always blame somebody else.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I'm always concerned about your license. So I will repeat, I am merely talking about Donald Trump. No one else. Let's be clear. I didn't hear or see the clips that you played this morning. That is what you decided to do. However, Donald Trump is subject to a process of fact-checking, so that 2 years into his presidential term, he is documented as having come out with over 8,500 lies. Now, unlike your listeners or viewers on Facebook, as I say, I didn't hear or see what you played this morning. So they may have their own opinions. I can only say that in the United States, the president has been fact-checked. So on the issue of fact-checking, who ought to be doing this? I remember in the 60s, during the period of the GNP administration, they introduced a program on WIBS called Channel G. It was directed by one Frank Hughes, who subsequently elevated himself to Vega 1. And then when Uncle Gary came into office, that Channel G was changed, and we had the precursor of the Government Information Service. In fact, it may well have been called the Government Information Service, but certainly by 1970, it was popularly known as Radio Lionel because of the number of lies that spewed from it daily. Then we made a further progress during the period of abortive popular people's participation, when we had an entity called Radio Free Grenada. I emphasize the free part of it for the benefit of your listener, Mr. Francis, who, as he has explained, he was not free during that period of time, as were many of his compatriots from Mount Rule and Mount Rich. Nevertheless, that Radio Free was, I believe, managed by a former PRA captain, one David, I think he was, who currently holds a prominent position, which is not surprising because there's no fact-checking going on. Now, fact-checking, apparently, it seems that the role of the GIS is to repeat ad nauseum errors of fact which are spouted in the hallowed halls of Parliament under the guise of parliamentary privilege. I have no such privilege, but I will say that I would expect the presiding officer, when errors are made, to hold the individuals accountable. So I remain in a state of shock, having heard an explanation by the Minister of Works, or whatever he's called, stating that the government has to submit papers with regard to an arbitration that is taking place. And the reports coming on GIS, quoting the minister apparently, suggest that WRB wants to leave Grenada. That is not just a stretch of the imagination, as far as I am aware, but it defies the facts. The reason that the government is engaged in arbitration with WRB is because WRB, as the shareholder in Grenada Private Power, which is a 50% shareholder in Grenleg, alleges that the share purchase agreement signed in 1994, to which the minister alluded, has been breached. And under the terms of the said share purchase agreement, the matter has to go to an arbitration tribunal. I never heard before that statement, relying on parliamentary privilege, that WRB was hell-bent on leaving Grenada. It makes no sense. They have a major investment in Grenada, And unlike Venezuela, we have electricity. Now, there are people, the presiding officer, in fact, who went to Venezuela because he supports the disaster that is taking place there. And we all feel particularly sorry for what is taking place because the kleptocracy, not the oligarchy, the kleptocracy, look it up, they continue to live high while they have siphoned the wealth of the nation overseas. Now, I don't have parliamentary immunity. I can merely go on the internet and see the charges that have been laid against the hierarchy of the Venezuelan military dictatorship. It's very simple. But to get back to fact-checking, is it reasonable for taxpayers to be funding the Government Information Service when they report what is said in Parliament without any attempt at giving some sort of background, some sort of balance? You would think, in listening to the Honorable Minister, that the government of Grenada is the aggrieved party, when the contrary is true. When they passed the new Electricity Supply Act in breach of the original 1994 share purchase agreement, as alleged by Grenlec, they are the ones who started this process. Not being satisfied with that, there is another matter, which is a constitutional issue where papers have been filed with regard to the amendments to the said act, 2 of them in consecutive years, seeking to appropriate the property of Grenlec and its shareholders in terms of the 5% pre-tax profit to be transferred to a fund to be administered by individuals appointed solely by the minister. Now, come on. We need some fact-checking. We need the GIS to avoid the danger of becoming known as Radio Lionel once again. Done.
Alan Margaret says, I think that became the Government Broadcasting Unit, GBU, with Ida Wells and so on. Remember that?
Vaguely. Remember, I chose to be out of Grenada for a period of time between 1974 to 86.
Okay.
Except for a short period when I thought I might be able to make a difference between 1980 to 81. But I left before I could run the risk of being interrogated by former PRA captains and other various assorted murderers and gun runners.
And so you're free to sit here.
Let them sue me. Let them sue me for calling them murderers and gun runners. Sue me if all your name man.
By the way, John here says kleptocracy is a perfect description.
Yep.
Okay.
How do you think? How do you think? And I've said it before. How do you think all of these multi-billionaires coming out of the former Soviet Union obtain their money? Yep. Follow the Panama Papers and go into all the British overseas territories, Cayman Islands, British Virgin Islands, the Bermuda, the Channel Islands.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
you know, Alan, you know what you were saying.
It is what it is.
What you were saying this morning about the GIS is very deep, and I'm sure that all these folks who are sitting here on social media this morning tend to agree with you. These guys look forward to hearing the GIS report every morning. Why? Not because they feel enlightened, but because it gives them something to vent on.
To fact check.
To fact check. Yeah. Just going back a little bit here, John says, oh, by the way, Glenna Knight says, them shrimp people take the money and run with it. You know, play on Killer's Calypso there, or a soca song, Glenna. Yeah. Then John says, I love...
With regard to them people taking the money, pick up the money and run with it. Let me repeat. Plus ça change, plus c'est la même chose. How many times have we seen and heard of all of these projects? I mean, come on. And now we want to put hotels in La Sagesse Bay. I mean, La Sagesse Bay of all places? Oh, give me a break. Planning and Development Control Authority.
By the way, did you see where apparently these people, the, what's the name of them? The Change Development?
Range.
The range.
Yeah.
Apparently they pulled
out
of...
Hold on. I don't believe anything that I see about them, you know, because in July of 2018, the gentleman was in Geneva proving that he was not in a Chinese jail. No.
I saw that.
The reality is, according to some reports, that he had never been in any jail. He had merely been requested to answer some questions. And he left China. So when he was in Geneva and he said he was not in a Chinese jail, it's true. But it doesn't change the fact that there are hundreds of Chinese investors who are looking to him for their money.
Yeah.
And it does appear now, from latest reports, that he had 2 hotels to build in St. Kitts. There are photographs taken of him and the Prime Minister, Timothy Harris, with their pants leg rolled up. They're in water now. You just turn sod in water. Well, in La Sagesse, they go turn sod in swamp.
I advise you people to keep a close eye on this one because, yes, apparently the word is out that he sort of dumped St. Kitts and opted to go Grenada, okay?
Which raises the question, since a certain individual was attending the Monetary Council meeting in St. Kitts and by his own announcement flew down to watch cricket on a private jet, I asked the question already, who paid for the jet and whose jet was it?
Yeah.
Anyhow.
I don't have any answers. Anyhow, hold on
a second. Go.
Hold on, very quickly. John says he loves your T-shirts, and he wants to know if it's a freebie given to you by Lacroix.
I can't comment on that except to say that I am not a member of the Burial Society.
Okay. Lincoln says...
This one says death is inevitable.
Yes.
Rarely living is optional.
Okay, Mr. B. From what I see here, it says death is mandatory.
Mandatory, yeah. Fair enough.
Lincoln Roberts says oil and gas will be in production soon. A few weeks before the next election. Just wait. Have patience.
Again?
Yeah.
I remember Teddy Victor made reference to it, one of the elections that Uncle won. I think he won all the St. Andrews seats. And he suggested the project was going to start imminently. We are going to dredge the Paradise River and the geese boat would come up there to load bananas.
Okay. Donna Joseph is responding to you, B. She says the jet was paid for by the person who is owning the spot in St. David's, where the hotel will be going down.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised, but I have to say I can't fact check that.
Okay. All right, Mr. B, you can't fact check that. Okay. Thank you, Mr. B. I know that you have to run, and we also have to make some time here for Anthony in just a wee bit. Appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you. Bye.
Good to see you. All right, folks, there he goes. Alan is off to the bank now. Thank you very much, sir. Now, programs, let me take a quick little break here, and hold on a sec, because we ain't through yet. We still have Anthony coming your way in just a wee bit, so hang in there.
With free island-wide delivery, Hubbard's Building Supplies and Lumber Departments continue to provide the best quality lumber, steel, tiles, plumbing materials, electrical and general hardware supplies at competitive prices. We continually consult with builders, homeowners and contractors to improve product range and services. Enjoy discounts where applicable, including the use of credit and debit cards. At Hubbard's Building Supplies, Grandance and Lumber Department, Caranage, we offer quality service, affordable prices, giving you the convenient, reliable, free island-wide delivery. Call 440-2087 for all your home improvement and building solutions.
Grenadian General Insurance Company, strength and stability. Grenadian General Insurance Company, tell your friends, tell your family. We cover householders comprehensive, motor and even fire too. Contractors all risk burglary, public liability, professional indemnity, directors liability, and wait, we still have more. Come and find out more what you're waiting for.
We are located on Scott Street, St. George's. For more information, call 440-2434.
Tell everybody.
Together with you, our customers, we energize our community.
Together with you, we energize our economy.
We are working together to give our nation a better tomorrow.
With you, we energize our future. Together, we energize our nation.
Thank you for partnering with us as we energize our Spice Island.
Redlick, energizing our Grenada.
Alrighty, Donna Joseph says, yes, Mr. B. Mr. Ferry had St. Andrews people voting to see the banana boat on the Paradise River. Huh? I'm sorry that B is gone. I'd love to hear what he had to say about that. And by the way, Chester says, Alan made my day. Yes, sirree, he certainly did. Good to hear from you, Mr. Chester. Been trying to reach you. Now, I'll tell you what. Up next, we haven't heard from him for a little while. He's been here. Actually, today, he's leaving to return to the United States. Anthony Wendell DeRiggs. What is he going to talk about this morning? The words we use. Check this out.
You are looking at a bowl of tittery. Tittery. One of the few words from the indigenous Kalinago. And we still use the word tittery today. It's sad that we do not have much in terms of a collection of words that the Kalinago use. Maboya. Maboya Neguov, that's another Kalinago word. And there is Maboya Island somewhere in the Grenadines. So, words. It's all right. Good, nice to wave our flag. What we have to know? Our history. We have to know about ourselves and document it also. Now, the rich amalgam of tongues that made its mark on the everyday speech in Grenada came from far and wide and include a few leftover words from the indigenous Kalinago. The French, the English settlers, people imported from Africa and enslaved, Indians brought from India, a sprinkling of people from Madeira and Malta, indentured white settlers who came from Barbados, settled in Montmaris, people from the Caribbean and Grenadians who returned from working in Panama, building the Panama Canal, Aruba, in the oil fields, and other places. So we have a lot of words and expressions that developed over time, whether in the form of slang, idioms, cliché, proverbs, and played a very important role in our educational, cultural, and social upbringing, and proved to be valuable sources of information and communication. Now, a number of local proverbs and sayings survived and are regularly used in our everyday Grenadian vocabulary, but others became rare over time. So the words that sprung from the mouths and pens of people in Grenada came from far and wide. We established that, okay? But when combined with the local terms, that which you will hear in the market, you know, or walking on the carronage, a rich and informative assortment resulted. I will not attempt to document every saying and expression, for that is like trying to empty the sea. No, I am not going to go to establish the root of the words, for that can be kind a task, as clouds of doubt surround the originality and even the spelling of words that comprise the sayings. We adopted words, many words in Grenada, and we make up our own. People make up their own words. We also added our flavor by spicing up some of the words that filtered in. And thus we have spiced expressions. And there were variations in the way words were spelled and pronounced. As you listen, you would note, I would say I and ah, or yo and yo. And that's deliberate, for it is exactly what we did and what we do. The same can be said of a and ah. You realize also that there are expressions written in the correct formal grammatical form, and others are what people call broken English colloquialisms. This is true representation of how we say words, because we mix up everything. We mix up our expressions. We went from the Queen's English or the King's English to dialect in one sentence. At times we spoke like Robert Frost or William Longfellow, and we suddenly bust into our local expressions. There are proverbs, idioms, and expressions that lingered without significant alterations. Teachers in a classroom like us to talk like the Queen. The question is often asked, why French words and expressions are not more predominant in Grenada today, seeing that Grenada was under French rule for more than 112 years. And there are those who put the blame squarely on the shoulders of the British, who, after gaining control from the French, embarked on a deliberate effort to obliterate as much of the French influence that existed in Grenada, and that included the French patois spoken. The British, they didn't want any French influence, and they didn't mind when France took away a whole bunch of stuff and went after the British took control. Now, if the French patois had survived, as many of the French names that still exist in Grenada, there'd be much more that we can talk about regarding France and French names. Many other places in Grenada do retain their names, the French name. The British at once called Guave Charlottetown, but the resilient nature of the people of Guave, boy, you could conquer Guave people for that. They did not allow that name to take root. But there are names like Montgelou, Grandance, La Digue, and others, and they exist in Grenada today. So the effort to stamp out the Frenchness including the patois, or what Mr. Alistair Hughes called bastardized French. It was not totally successful. The French-speaking Grenadians who immigrated to Trinidad during the 19th century, rather than remain and face the wrath of the hostile British, carried their patois with them. The popular term "Go to France" was a British verbal outburst signifying disgust when dealing with the French-speaking people on the island. Even today, some Grenadians use the expression Go to France. Now you know where that came from. Generations of older Grenadians did very little to ensure the continued usage of the French patois when they limited the language to speaking with each other. Big people talk, excluding the children, what is known as big people talk. By doing so, they deny the younger ones a chance to listen or to learn the French patois. And I'm concerned that there are some aspects of our history today that are being suppressed, deliberately or not. I leave you to judge. It is not surprising, therefore, an abundance of British idioms and proverbs survived over time. And the British, of course, introduced their books in the island, books as the royal readers, compulsory reading for the students in the schools. A distinction must be made between a proverb and an idiom. When one uses an idiom, he kicked the bucket, for instance. The person died. Oh, you can't tell. You can't explain the connection between kicking the bucket and death without going to the root of the saying. A proverb, however, is more explicit, simpler, and easy to understand. Two wrongs don't make a right. That's simple. You understand that. As opposed to kicking the bucket, as I explained. So a colorful mixture of terms and expression developed over time. African people imported to work on the estates, and they brought with them words and customs that made a mark on the Grenadian vocabulary, and not too much though. But some names did survive, as Kojo, and we link that to the kata, the wrap on the head, it's African term. Kokobe, a word for leprosy, survived also. And then, of course, a small number of Indians came to Grenada as indentured servants in the 19th century. Indian terminologies, it didn't have such a great impact on the Grenadian lexicon because of the small number and their willingness to integrate, be absorbed into the dominant culture. What we are familiar, very much so, with words like roti. Part 1, Anthony Wendell DeRiggs. I'll have to do this in 2 parts.
All right, there you have it, folks. Anthony DeRiggs. And by the way, here, Lydia James is referring to that image you were looking at on the screen there as Chi-Chi-Ri. C-H-E-E-C-H-E-R-I-E. Yeah. As a kid growing up in Grenville, we did pronounce it that way at times, but other times we said Tittery. Who cares? Anyhow, by the way, Anthony is heading back up to New York today. And while he was here, this man did a lot of shooting, captured a lot of images. So I expect that between now and I understand he's due back here in November. Between now and then, you're going to be seeing a lot of the stuff that he's been shooting down here. I think that's going to do it. Folks, just before... Oh, by the way, I see some people here on Facebook this morning. Kennedy Roberts. Hello there, Kennedy. Nice of you to join us. I feel honored. Please spread the word around. And Cheryl Caliste, thanks. Cheryl, you know, I don't know this lady. At least I don't think so. But she's been joining us pretty often, and I thank you very much, Cheryl. Always nice to see you pop up. Sue Patrice. Sue. Another travel agent. My gosh, I kind of envy you guys. My brother is also a travel agent. You guys seem to spend your lives just traveling the world and going, especially you, Sue, on cruises. I follow you on Facebook, and I see those cruises, and I keep saying to myself, you know, George, when you grow up, try and be like Sue. Go cruising. You and Margaret. Wouldn't be surprised if you guys link up at some point. Emmanuel Roberts is also with us out there, and of course, Chester. Folks, parting word. Some advice on life. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 to 32. Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up, according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. And do not grieve the Holy Spirit of God, with whom you were sealed for the day of redemption. Get rid of all bitterness, rage, and anger, brawling and slander, along with every form of malice. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as in Christ God forgave you. Remember that. Ephesians 4:29 to 32. Okay, pilgrims? Margaret says, my Cuba cruise was done with Sue. Okay. Thanks, Mags. Can you imagine me joining you guys on a cruise at some time? I'll never be the same. Pilgrims, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Georgie Porgy sending God's blessings your way. And by his grace, let's do it all over tomorrow morning at 9.